Hello, welcome and welcome back. This is Jacob, and today we are gonna be starting up a new narration and character voicing for the channel, still for Arknights, but this time around not for a story that is available in the game, but for one of its many mangas. So, let me in this intro go quickly over why are we doing this, what the connection is with this story to anything in the game itself, and I'll give you sort of a time frame as well. So first off, why are we doing this right now? Well, it has to do again with what this story is about. So first off, Miss Coney, thank you very much if you're watching this for reminding me and specifically telling me that this manga is pretty much the prequel story of sorts for Dorothy's vision, but also from what I've seen on the wiki page, and you can probably undoubtedly tell because of Ifrit is there in the in this very cover page. This story will also be covering and fleshing out the Diabolical Crisis that we hear about in-game itself from the many operators, and it keeps being mentioned here and there. Outside of that, to another viewer, B2, who also reminded me that, or rather asked me if I would be doing any coverage on mangas in the future. Like I said, I will be doing these in the future as well. And they will be replacing the main story narration slot that I have already going once the story in chapter 10 is fully covered and we end up just waiting for the next one being released. Yeah, right now this will take sort of priority, as it will be also a learning curve for me to learn how to do these, because this is definitely completely different from what I have to do for anything else. So apologies in advance if something looks a bit crude or out of place, or feels a bit stiff going through it, but yeah, this is the first time I'm doing anything like this. So yeah, anyway, outside of that, what is the overall upload rate going to be? Considering that Dorothy's Vision is going to be out in just a handful of days, and this story is the prequel to that one, I obviously cannot push out more parts than this one before that story, because I already have something else in plan just before that one drops, so apologies in advance. But I will keep on working on parts as time goes on, so I don't know, maybe a week to a week and a half in between parts, considering it does take a while to prepare them, but I'll see if I will have enough time for the next part to cover not just one chapter like today's will, but maybe 2 chapters in one episode, which would be very nice, considering I personally like always longer episodes for these kind of storytellings. So yeah, I'll see what I can do. Until then, this will be the first. This is essentially a pilot episode of sorts. But yeah, anyway, like I said, this will be also pretty much the same style of narration and character voicing that I do on anything else for the game. The only difference is gonna be that because there are not many scenes where stuff gets described to you, because this is obviously a manga, I will pretty much just ad-lib descriptions in between speech bubbles, speech bubbles and stuff like that. But yeah, you'll see when we start going through this. It will definitely be a different kind of experience, believe me. But yeah, anyway, as for character voices, I will obviously keep on doing the character voices, because that's just my thing. That is just my thing. And yeah, I once this is completely done, I might do one extra episode at the end, which will be like a story summary of the entire thing, but going through it for the first time, I would rather have something normal where we go over each panel and see everything in the proper order of things, and not just like bullet points. But I'll see what I can do once we are completely done. But anyway, let us begin with today's story, shall we? So once again, this is Rhode Island's Records of Originium, Rhine Lab, and let's begin. So, we begin our story somewhere away, under the blue skies, as multiple trucks are being loaded up with supplies, and a man is saying, "Let's hurry it up, people. The sun's about to rise." And as the scene continues, we see two people to the side there, bottom right, talking in between a couple of crates. The woman saying, Isn't what we're going to do a little bad? How much worse can it get from here? She's lost her father and her mother. If she stays here, assuming hunger doesn't get her first, illness will. I've heard that that ship is different from others. It saves people. Maybe, just maybe, she might be able to survive on board. And as the woman reluctantly agrees to what the man says with an okay, it seems like this is the only option we have. We switch scenes now and see a beautiful aerial shot of Rhode Island front as a ramp is lowered and multiple trucks keep going up and down the ramp, delivering supplies to restock the storage facilities of Rhode Island itself. And we hear a young woman direct the traffic saying, "Loading ramps in place. Prepare to receive supplies. All unauthorized personnel, please vacate the venue. Freight group in position. All boarding personnel, please head over to the walkway 7. And as she sees someone she recognizes, she beams in the light. "Ah, long time no see." And the person she sees is none other than Operator Saria, coming back from a mission accompanied by a bunch of Rhode Island personnel in tow. And the woman keeps talking. "Welcome back, Miss Saria." "Thank you." "It must have been tough on you out in the field. The shuttle bus to the dormitories is this way." "Let them head back and get some rest. I'll be reporting to Dr. Kalsit in her office first." "Okay. Everybody, please come with me." And as the young woman is escorting the other operators to the shuttle bus, we switch scenes a bit deeper into the cargo hold with two young men talking. "Okay, just put it here. Is there anything left?" "Nope, that's the last batch of goods from today." Whew, it's finally over. In times like this, I'm always half dead by the end of the day. Huh, you better get back to the dorms and get some rest then. "Oh, right, don't forget to turn off the lights." I know. Let's just get going already." And as the two of them leave, we see someone jumping down from one of the shells. A tiny little girl, from what it appears, looking around in a bit of bewilderment around the big storage facility. She turns one way and just keeps running deeper into the storage facility. Meanwhile, we switch scenes to one of the many corridors on ship as someone is sneaking behind one of the corners, looking around if anybody is there. And then, when she realizes that there is no one, exclaiming, "Nobody's here! Oh yeah!" And she starts running. "This is great! Today I can finally..." And as she promptly bumps around a corner into silence herself. "What? Huh? Silence? Ifrit. Where are you going? Have you finished your assignments?" "There's so much more work today. No way I can finish it. And I'm starving. I don't have the energy to work on it. I'm gonna go grab a bite. I'll be right back." "I'm well aware of what today is. We've spoken about this. You cannot go and see her. Head back to your room right now." "I know." And as she reluctantly turns around and heads back to her dormitory, closes the door behind her, silence herself, closes her eyes and collects her thoughts for a minute, places a hand on the door gently, saying, "After I'm done with my work, I'll bring some of your favorite snacks, so be a good girl, okay?" She turns around to her two, and I'm just gonna call those two assistants for now, because I'm not sure if they're assistants or medical interns. So, apologies. She turns around to them, says, "Let's go." And as they go away, turn around at the end of the corridor, around the corner, Ifrit pokes out of the door again, sneaks out, and runs off. She proceeds to run through the hallways of Rhode Island, calling for none other than Saria. As she keeps calling out to her and asking if she can hear her, she stops for a second. Isn't Saria's room around here? She has to be back already, right? She keeps going, passing by a big open door, still calling for Saria. And the door catches her attention because the door leads into the big storage facility. She sees it, rushes in, and starts shouting, "Oh, are these the new supplies? Are they tasty? Packaging like this is no obstacle for someone great like me. Why are these boxes bound so tightly?" And as she keeps rummaging and trying to open up some of the boxes, she starts hearing some crunching sounds right next to her. She looks to her right and sees and hears that the sounds are coming from a wooden box that is covered by what appears to be just a tarp. She approaches the box. What's that sound? Why is the packaging on this box torn? She grabs the tarp, pulls it away, just to see a tiny little girl looking up to her, munching on, I guess it's a potato. I don't know what that is, but they look like giant potatoes. But yeah, munching on a piece of food, just looking up at her. Ifrit panics, pushes the box to the side, and we can already see some floating water. And as the box drops to the side, the young girl just face palms straight onto the floor. What? You! And as she is trying to call out to her, gets splashed by water in the middle of her face. Collapses on her back, is confused and very pissed off. Starts coming back up. Damn it. You're not a member of Rhode Island, are you? You dare to attack me? And we see the girl now in full picture. Tiny little young girl clutching a piece of a vegetable that she nibbled on, just looking at Ifrit in some form of bewilderment and, who is that? And as the scene proceeds, she just points her hand in front with an open palm, starting to collect water. Ifrit sees that, this is... You can control water? And as she says that, the girl proceeds to attack her with the water projectiles that keep rushing forward. And as we see back at her, she keeps collecting more and more water around her palm. But that is not enough for Ifrit. Ifrit starts to charge up her own flames now, saying, "Don't get cocky. I'll show you the power of someone great like me." And as she starts firing off weaker, tinier flames than what she usually can do, the young girl sees that, clutches her fist, the projectiles start flying forward, and they collide with Ifrit's flame, sizzling out, and just negating each other. Ah, my flames! Huh, I can't do this. Again, watch this. And as she now starts charging up more powerful flames, a big swirl of fire can be seen around Ifrit. The young girl sees that. Ifrit says, "Let's see how you deal with this." And they keep firing once again at each other, or more. Ifrit keeps firing now, while the little girl is trying to just defend herself. But this time around, it breaks through. Ifrit says, "Haha, you're finished now. Hurry up and bow down to the great..." And as she says that, the girl already peeked around a corner. Ifrit in pursuit. "Hey, stop running!" The young girl reaches a dead end, not knowing what to do for a second. "I've got you." There's nowhere for you to... And as she's unable to finish her sentence, once again, she looks up, seeing a huge swirl of water above her head. Huh? You serious? And as she says that in bewilderment, the water crashes down and sends her back onto the floor as before. As the water just subsides, Ifrit just sits there, again in a bit of bewilderment and confusion, just wet. The young girl looks at her and breaks out in a big hearty laugh at Ifrit's predicament. Meanwhile, as Ifrit starts standing up again, "You little brat, you're actually able to put me out. You're pretty good, aren't you? Again! Look at my fire dragon attack. Ah, finally, I finally caught you." And as they keep playing around, they start hearing someone approaching. Ifrit reacts, "Oh no," and pulls the girl behind some boxes on a shelf as two Rhode Island employees walk into the cargo hold themselves, and they start talking. "Which package did you say had an issue with weight?" "One of those in Area C." "What's the usual reason for something like this?" "It's a little heavy, so it's either an issue with the numbers or we have a stowaway on our hands." And as Ifrit hears that, she looks a bit inquisitive to the little girl, realizing that they are probably talking about her while still covering her mouth. And in a whisper says, "Shh, quiet down, you'll get caught." Meanwhile, the girl is still trying to break free. Ifrit has an idea. "Got it. If you stay quiet, I'll give you sweets." The young girl just looks up at her. Ifrit starts searching through her pockets. "Hold on." Picks out a piece of candy, just shoves it into the young girl's mouth, saying, "Here you go." And as that happens, she just beams into light and sparkles. Candy! "Do you want more?" The girl nods. "Then you have to listen to me, okay?" The girl begins to nod so furiously that you could think she's at a heavy metal concert. And as they keep on sneaking away now behind the shells that they were hiding behind, and the two Rhode Island employees go the opposite direction of them, the two of them keep talking. "You head over there and inspect it first." "Okay." "Why is there so much water here?" And as they keep looking at the water, Ifrit and the young girl escape. And in the corridor outside, "Nice. Alright, what's your name?" "Name?" "Yep, your name. My name is Ifrit. What's yours?" "Dahlia." "Okay, Dahlia. You have to follow and listen to everything I say from now on. You got that?" Dahlia nods. "Also, you have to call me boss." "Boss." Upon hearing that, now Ifrit beams in absolute delight and enjoyment upon hearing someone call him boss. That face. But as she hears that, she also hears a rumble coming from the little girl. "Are you hungry?" And she continues to munch on the piece of vegetable that she's carrying with her. "Stop eating that! Your boss will take you to get something delicious," as she grabs the hand of the little girl. "Oh." And they keep running through the corridors. Meanwhile, we switch scenes to the Rhode Island Medical Center, where Silence and Telopsis are now with the two assistants. Telopsis says, "The name list of returning operators has been collected. There are no pressing medical concerns." "Understood. Alright. Saria has returned. During this period, you must monitor Ifrit carefully. Don't allow her to roam freely. We must prevent the two of them from meeting. Understood. And as the two assistant overhear that, they start talking in between each other. Dr. Silence is normally very gentle, so why does it seem like she's a completely different person when it comes to Saria? I heard that the two of them had bad blood even before joining Rhode Island, and that Dr. Silence even told Saria to stop interacting with Ifrit. Weren't they originally working together at Rhine Labs? And as Silence is just silently... see what I did there? Silently looking on to her clipboard in front of her, which contains a file on Saria. The two of them keep talking in the background. How did their relationship become like this? And on saying that, the scene transitions to a quick little peek into the past. We see an emergency medical room, monitors beeping, keeping track of the vitals of someone lying in the front there with a oxygen mask on their face. Silence angrily looking over her left shoulder. What are you here to do? There is a way to help Ifrit. But you are not to share a word of what happens here with anyone else. And as that scene concludes, we swap back into the current timeline as a loud alarm rings out from the intercom. The canteen has sustained damage from an unknown source. All personnel are to stand by until further notice. And upon hearing that, Silence calls out to Telopsis. Telopsis, help me contact Ifrit's dormitory. The target isn't responding. Upon hearing that, Silence just thinks to herself, Ifrit. And we proceed to switch to a scene 15 minutes ago. Place in the kitchen. As the two of them found food. Lots of yummy food. And are beaming in delight at it. This is... Heavens, there's Colombian feathered meat rolls here. Porcian red soup. There's even a lemon bacon steak. Today's head chef must be Big Brother Matterhorn. And as Dahlia is just excitedly moving around, looking at and listening to Ifrit, she gets handed a piece of meat. Dahlia, take this. As they keep on, they start munching on it, saying how good it is in their heads. How is it? Do you like it? From now on, you just have to follow your big boss around Rhode Island. It'll be good food for you to eat every day. But suddenly, Ifrit stops, looks at little Dahlia, as suddenly a lot of sweat starts gathering on her face, and it sounds like she's sniffling. She looks to be under some kind of pain all of a sudden. And Ifrit says, "What's the matter? The steak isn't spicy, is it?" And as she keeps sniffling, suddenly all of the pipes around Ifrit start to rumble. Ifrit looks up. "What's that sound?" And at that moment, all of the pipes burst, and water just keeps spewing out of them. What? Damage to pipe system detected. Damage to pipe system detected. As can be heard by an alarm immediately ringing out. What's going on? Dahlia! And she calls out to her. We see that Dahlia started now laughing again. This was your doing? Not good. This is too much. Silence will... And as she gets hit by water straight into her head again, she trips and falls, landing face first again, trying to prep herself up again on the slippery floor. Pardon. Damn it, it's too slippery. You. Why aren't you listening to your boss? And as she readies her flame, suddenly a big spout of water in front of her bursts up. Dahlia! If you keep doing this, when Silence and the others get here, your boss won't be able to protect you either. And at that moment, everything stops all of a sudden. The pipes that bursted are covered by some kind of little white rocks. And Ifrit asks herself, the water stopped? And we see someone step into the kitchen, and Ifrit notices them. And it is none other than Saria herself, using her calcification skills to cover up all the damage that has been done to the pipes. Ifrit sees her and just beams in a big smile at her, saying her name. And Saria reacts pretty much in a similar fashion back, but asking, weirdly enough, if Ifrit is in front of her. If Ifrit, being super excited about seeing Saria, starts to stand up. And Saria looks like she starts to approach, but then Ifrit! They both hear the shout. Ifrit looks over her right shoulder and sees that Silence, Ptilopsis, and 2 Rhode Island employees that were earlier in the cargo hold have entered the kitchen and are looking at them. Dr. Silence, wait for us. Silence? We're done for. And as Ifrit says that to herself in her own mind, Dahlia just stands there very confused about what is happening. Ifrit starts to plead towards Silence as Silence is approaching her, trying to apologize. It was my fault. I promised to finish my assignments today. But that doesn't matter because because Silence just stands in front of Ifrit, protectively in between her and Saria, saying to Saria, "What are you doing here?" I heard the announcement over the system, and I felt an Originium reaction. Ah, it's Miss Saria. Thanks for rushing here. You kept the situation from getting any worse. Thank you so much. It's nothing. And at that moment, little Dahlia approaches Ifrit, tugging on her sleeve. Boss. Who is this child? I've never seen her before. From the looks of it, could it be that... What did you say her name was? Dahlia. So that explains why there wasn't much excess weight. If it was a little kid, that would make sense. Seems like it's her. The stowaway in the cargo. And upon hearing that, Ifrit asks the young Rhode Island employee, "What are you going to do to her?" According to protocol, we send her back to where she came from. No. She's Malachi. I won't let you do anything to her. Ifrit, don't cause a scene. Silence. I want her to stay. I like her. We had a lot of fun together. Ifrit, this is... But Silence doesn't finish her sentence because she sees the crystals on the neck of young Dahlia. And in the background, Ifrit, we have to follow the rules of Rhodes. Don't put us on the spot. Silence kneels down towards the girl and extends a hand towards her neck and says, "Hold on." There's traces of Originium on her body. Something strange here, as she says in her mind, analyzing the crystals. She carefully touches one of the crystals, and a tiny little sizzling sound can be heard from touching her. Silence recoils in surprise and says inside of her head, "So hot. This child's a ripophy infection. She needs medical attention at once." Dahlia just keeps looking up. The young man says, "Dr. Silence, if you were to tell me she was a carrier, I could believe that, but..." Silence, she can get medical help from a local Rhode Island office after leaving the ship. But stowaways must be sent back, even if she were treated on board. we ought to only make that decision after inspecting her. The ship's safety must be our top priority. Ifrit hears that but doesn't respond, just has a unpleasant look in her face. Silence responds back to Saria. I understand that, but Rhode Island's medical facilities have their own sets of protocols. With regards to the girl in front of us, in need of serious medical attention, we give her all the help we can to our utmost ability. Dr. Silence, I can understand your desire to help patients and have no doubts about with regard to your professional opinion, but no matter how I look at it, she doesn't seem like someone in need of immediate medical attention. Saria says, Rhode Island simply doesn't have the ability to save everybody. If we were to simply accept anybody on board for treatment, we would have a serious issue with stowaways on our hand. I'm not trying to find reasons to justify my compassion. This child truly needs... And as she doesn't finish her sentence, Dahlia just keeps looking up in confusion as to what is happening. The two employees of Rhode Island look at each other and say, Dr. Silence, please forgive us. Come along with us, little girl. Silence tries to stop them. Hold on. And as the young man is reaching out to Dahlia, Dahlia suddenly freezes in place. Ifrit sees the hand reaching out, slaps it away, steps in front of Dahlia as to protect her, conjures up her flames and yells, Don't you dare touch her! If you want to take her away, you'll have to get through me first. And as she conjures up even more ferocious flames, Silence tries to call out to her. The confusion keeps on going, trying to stop Ifrit. Saria says, I told you that we can't. But in the meantime, something is happening to the little girl as she is starting to remember something from the past. Words pop up in her head of someone saying, Stay away. And as we start seeing a scene play out in the little girl's memory, mixing in with what is currently happening in the kitchen, overlapping with what appears to be a destroyed, or rather, household in a very sorry state, and the words just keep popping up. Stay away, stay away, stay away. We see the shadow of a man who is about to apparently strike someone. But back in reality, we see Saria starting to walk towards the group of arguing people. As she yells back, Ifrit! Saria! As Silence gleamingly looks over again towards... as Silence... Oh, I'm gonna be confusing those two names, pardon. As Silence looks over back to Saria, and now stands in front of Ifrit, shielding both her and Dahlia from Saria, saying, You stay away from her. And upon saying that, little Dahlia seems to freeze even more in place, remembering things. Meanwhile, as Ifrit is trying to apologize to Silence, I'm sorry, Silence. We start hearing the conversation from the memory. It's all your fault. It's all your fault. You gave birth to this thing and you want me to pay for her treatment. Me not killing her is already a blessing. What are you doing? Are you crazy? Meanwhile, Silence is still standing in front, just muttering Saria's name and saying to her, I'm not doing this on purpose, but... The conversation in the memory continues. I'm crazy. Let's get this clear. He's the one with the illness. Now get out of my way. You dare obstruct me. You have a death wish. You have a death wish too. Get lost. Don't you dare come here. Get away. Stay away. And as we see the full scene now play out, as the man with a broken bottle in his left hand charges towards the child and the woman, which appears to be the very same scene that we kind of heard at the beginning of this chapter, in that both of her parents died, meaning that this is more than likely her mother about to die at the hands of her very father. And the final scene, we see just the eye of Dahlia as a splat of blood starts to cover her face. And at that moment, Dahlia snaps with a very loud no and stop, and water starts to burst from everywhere around her, more raging than ever before, which catches Saria off guard as she is readily deploying her shield already. Ifrit trying to yell at Dahlia to stop. Dahlia not reacting, just firing off her water projectiles, and this time we can see that these are meant to at least injure or kill, even though she's definitely not doing it out of malice, probably. She is a child after all. But we can see that these are definitely slicing through stuff there. As the young man realizes what is happening, he shields his co-worker quickly. Be careful of her attacks. Get back. And at that moment, a pain surges through the right hand of the young man, as we can see, and Saria definitely sees herself, that the hand starts to shrivel up and dry out, like the water is being pulled, or moisture is being pulled from the hand. As he audibly recoils in pain from it, Saria steps in front of the young man, shielding him now from the water, and asks him, "What's wrong with your hand?" "I don't know. It felt like an arm was being sucked away all of a sudden." Saria, realizing what is happening, saying to herself in her mind, "Danger. We must contain her at once." And as she says that, the young man notices that the water projectiles are now gathering behind them, saying, "The water bombs are behind us." Saria effortlessly, with one hand, without even looking, starts to produce shields around the young man behind her and keeps marching forward. She starts to calcify her right hand, ready to strike at the young girl to stop the danger that is in front of her. Silence notices that and yells out, "Saria!" Saria snaps back into reality, stops herself, and she sees herself a exhausted look on the young girl's face as the water stops to swirl around her, and the girl collapses to her side. Saria is a bit in bewilderment, probably because of what she was about to do, and realizing what she was about to do, the young girl collapses to the ground. Saria stops, and Ifrit and Silence rush forward. They all gather around the little girl as everything now has stopped. From one moment of absolute madness that was happening around everybody to complete stillness. Ifrit asks, "Silence, is Dahlia okay?" "She needs urgent help. I'll get a stretcher. She won't make it." Silence picks up the girl and together with Philopsis starts running. "Tell the medical department to prepare an emergency room. Contacting at once." And as the two of them start running out with Dahlia, Ifrit starts running after them but stops and looks back. Without a word, just looking at Saria. Saria looking back at her. She nods to Ifrit. Ifrit acknowledges the nod and starts running after the two that have just left with Dahlia. Saria looks over to the young Rhode Island employee and asks, "How's your hand?" "It's fine. I'm okay now. Thank you, Miss Saria. I wish to clarify a few things with you." "Huh?" And as that scene ends, we see the three running through the corridor. "Prepare to carry out emergency operations." And as they reach the emergency room, Emergency room ready. Blood oxygen levels dropping. Give her oxygen. We have access to the veins. Prepare the injection. And as all that kerfuffle is happening, and as Silence is about to put her mask on, we switch again to the past. We now see a younger looking Silence also almost putting on a mask, while a alarm rings out above her from the intercoms. She looks over her shoulder, confused, as she hears, "Prepare to carry out emergency procedures. On-duty personnel, please report to the emergency room 1 at once." Silence calls out to Tilopsis, or rather Joyce, as that is her actual name. "Joyce, someone must need urgent help. Let's get a move on." As they run out and around a corner, she sees 3 people running quickly at them. She recognizes the person in the middle and looks at them in a bit of confusion and bewilderment. As the person in the middle is none other than Saria, carrying a young Ifrit who looks to be heavily injured, as she calls out, "Someone's injured. Please, save her at once." And that is where we're gonna end for today. Alright, this will be part 1 that covers chapter 1 of the Rhine Lab manga. Apologies for the couple of misreads and stuff. That stuff will obviously keep on happening, considering, well, English is not my main language, you know. But anyway, outside of that, as you can see, preparing these videos will take a bit of time, considering as to the way I'm doing this. So I'll do my best to have a sort of schedule for these, essentially. But anyway, all I can say is, if you like this video and want to see more, leave a like, a comment, how you like this first episode so far. This is technically a pilot episode. Oh, and one more thing very quickly that I forgot to mention at the beginning. There is, on the page where I found this, there is like a episode 0, but going over that episode 0 essentially is the episode 0 is, or rather the prologue 0 is is essentially just a big it's literally a trailer in the form of several manga pages from across the chapters. So I'm not going to be covering that one because we are going to be going over those pages anyway when we get to the specific mangas where the specific chapters they are from. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to do that. So apologies. I didn't skip that one, by the way. I didn't skip it. But anyway, thank you all for watching. Like I said, if you like this video, please leave a like. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Would be nice to one day get to that beautiful number 1000 and have the channel monetized officially. And outside of that, I hope you have a fantastic day wherever you are. Dorothy's around the corner. Huzzah! Time to pull. There is a lot of tickets that are saved up. A lot. And yeah, hope you have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, bye bye.